moving into entering a schedule. Yeah. Wish it had a save without finalizing it. From my experience, okay, we're going to go into workflow. I'm going to talk about welcome calls real quick. And then I really do want to talk about scheduling. I know we had a whole session on it, but sitting down and making your own schedule, just as a real quick hint, sitting down and really sitting with your schedule, even with a piece of paper, and hammering out what your day looks sounds so easy because it's automatically done for us when we're in a classroom, but it's not when we're at home. So yeah, definitely sit down, hammer out your schedule and adhere to it. See what works for you throughout the week and adjust accordingly. It's hard. It's hard working from home. It seems like it's easy because we get to wear yoga pants and, get to chill, but it's hard to keep yourself accountable to certain times and everything. So really do get a schedule together and adhere to it. So we're going to talk a little bit about welcome calls. I'm going to talk a little bit about what those would look like. And then, if you guys have any questions, Danielle can always walk you through how to actually schedule them. Within ClassTag, we've done it this week before, but I kind of really want to go into the pedagogy of some things. Welcome calls are really designed to call your parents and your students and really get to see where they are. Do they have technology? This is a great time in ClassTag to update their information in the directory. Do they have the right phone numbers? Do they have the right email addresses? What kind of online access do they have? This gives you a really good time to really get where your families are in this process. And it can be really unnerving for them as much as it is for us. So it's good to kind of balance that out.
I realized that you can make an event and create an event for the whole week for attendance. So I'm going to edit this so you can see how it looks laid out, but you would go and create an event. And I labeled it here, attendance for the week of 3/23 coming up. I just put in the details about what parents will do to show that they're going to submit attendance, that their students online. They would basically sign up to volunteer. And then if you see here for the start and end date, this is very important. The start date is on Monday at 9 a.m. and the end date is on the 27th, and that's on Friday. But the last hour they're allowed to submit attendance is 12 in the afternoon. So that's why the end date is at 12 noon. If you have any additional files, as always, you can attach. And if you see here, I created a volunteer request. So it's this button down here. So for every day of the week, you'll create a volunteer request. So for Monday, I put the date. I open the volunteer request to 25. So this would depend how many students you have in the class. So when the parents go see the event for Monday, they're going to click that they're attending or that they're volunteering. So that will show that they've checked their student in. The time, the start and end date is only going to be for Monday, because as you scroll down, Tuesday has Tuesday's date, Wednesday has Wednesday's date, and so on. So when you preview it and you update it, or for me, it's updating, for you, it's announcing, or you're submitting it, this is what it will look like. So now you've only had to create the event once. Additionally, it's going to feed out into your weekly summary, because every day now, parents will be reminded in their daily summary to submit attendance. You don't even need to worry about reminding them. They'll get automatic reminders because it's an event, it has a date and time attached. So it will feed in daily and weekly summary.
Awesome. And we did have a question on how to schedule parent-teacher conferences or just conferences. And I just want to, I know Danielle's going to walk us through that, but I do want to say two things of note. For conferences, I know Elizabeth, you asked, how do you suggest giving phone numbers and not getting spam calls? There's two ways you can do that that I think will work really well. Get a Google Voice number and provide that phone number so that you can shut down notifications on when you want to be notified and when you don't want to be notified. So that's one way you could do it. Additionally, instead of having a Google number, just invite your parents to call your Zoom number when you're in the Zoom room. So I'm not sure how many of you are using Zoom, but Zoom does have the capability of calling in. It's an actual option. And so, Danielle, do you mind showing us how to set up parent-teacher conference call slots? Just how to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to, between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m., I'm going to, have calls open.
I actually have that already scheduled. I'll pull that up right now.
Awesome. So this for teachers, this is for you guys. In terms of, you can open the slots that you actually want to talk to the students or parents. Let them sign up. Give them a call if you want to call them, or you can have them pop into the Zoom room. It's up to you. I personally call I have them give me their phone number. That's how I do it, but it's up to you how you want to do it.
So this is an example of using just parent-teacher conferences to connect with parents. So I created this event the other day, and I didn't fix the date, but if you see here, parents would be able to sign up right here. If you're wondering how to get started, you would go to the plus sign at the top right, click parent-teacher conference. You would select the days that you would want to pick. And when you select one day, you can decide your slot. By doing this, you have to create the same amount of slots as you do students. So if you want to open up your office hours for the first hour of your day, it's very easy, just like this. I usually create more slots than students just so parents can pick and choose. You would put in the details if you had any. And then you would see here, parents would be able to just sign up. And if you have a parent that tells you in a direct message or messages you privately on another platform or whatever you're using, you can assign them as well.
And Kathy said, is there a way to copy the schedule from one day to another? Kathy, okay, so for me, for scheduling, I would just do it as a blanket. Like I would sit for the week, and then as a virtual teacher, I would be like, okay, these are the times I'm taking calls. And then I would just put those slots in parent-teacher conference and just do it like once a week. You just sit down and you really map out what it's going to look like. And you can do it a couple weeks in advance. But unfortunately, I think the thing about virtual is you are going to do some things that are kind of repetitive, but you're going to get used to them. So they're only going to take, 2 or 3 minutes of your week. And you'll be like, oh yeah, today's the day where I put in all the slots that I am going to do conversations for the week. So hopefully that helps a little bit. And for, I also have like a master monthly calendar. We talked a lot about that on the first day for students, so that they knew when my office hours are. They know when I do live lessons. They know when I have just, open calls, when they can do that. So they have a general idea of how my workday goes. They don't know everything I'm doing in a workday. They don't know what I'm grading or anything, but they know when they can get in contact with me or when's the easiest time to contact me. And you don't always have to take phone calls immediately, especially if it's something, if you're grading, grade, you owe that to the students just as much as you owe the conversation to them too. So, time blocking is really important. We talked about that, and you're going to start seeing that more as you get comfortable with online learning. So we've discussed welcome calls, attendance, posting assignments we talked about earlier this week, live lessons and office hours. I'm just going to talk a little briefly about synchronous and asynchronous learning, and then we're going to kind of take questions from there. So feel free to start writing your questions in. I did talk about this in our very first chat. Virtual learning is a very much of a combination of synchronous and asynchronous learning. You're going to have schedules in ClassTag where it says, hey, I'm going to be in my office hours at this time. But you might have a more flexible due date on an assignment because the students, that's built-in time, give them the time to adjust to virtual learning, and if that assignment only takes them 20 minutes, give them a couple days, at least they're getting the content. And that allows for them to deal with whatever they're dealing with at home, and also lets you kind of breathe a little bit and get to it when you can get to it. So hopefully by now you're kind of getting in the groove and realizing there's different ways to produce things to them.
Can somehow, for your own reference, add everything you have going on throughout your day in Google Calendar. It will allow you to stay on task because you've blocked out what you're doing during that time. And it's helped tremendously. Huge help.
And then you kind of, you have a good flow of your day. You start really getting into a rhythm, and then it's not as uncomfortable because the adjustment is kind of hard. You're learning a lot of different tools and everything. Anyone have any questions about Tools and how they integrate with ClassTag, because ClassTag does work as a great hub for a lot of tools. There are people who are probably going to do the Zoom lesson in everything because it can do quite a bit more justice. But briefly, the best way to use Zoom and ClassTag together is you take an announcement and you write put your Zoom link in an announcement and pin it at the very top. So that kids already know from your schedule what times you're going to be in your Zoom room. And Zoom's kind of nifty because it will actually give a green light when in the waiting room when you're actually in there, and you can have kids wait in a waiting room and admit them as you want to take them in. They don't just pop in there. You can set it up to do that, or you can just use it as an announcement. And Danielle's going to show us how you can use that, how you can do an announcement to kind of pin a Zoom link.
Sam, I actually pulled up your class, your class, because I remember I saw you put the link in, and this is what you were talking about, where you have your Zoom room link. So Sam has it pinned to the top of her class. So parents need to access it right away. All they do is open the pinned announcement and click on it, and it'll bring them right to where that needs to go.
Awesome. Yeah. And Kathy, yay for Zoom, right? We get to see our kids. It's an awesome way to use a tool. And Jorge, when we send out announcements, do parents get the announcement on their phone and emails, or just one or the other? I believe they have that setting, right?
Whatever setting the parent picked when up, they're going to receive it in that form. So if parent picked email, they're going to receive it in an email. If they want SMS, they'll receive the announcement in the SMS format. And it will be in real time, or if you pick a later date or time.
And Stacy asked, how do we put it at the top? We actually pin it. When you make an announcement or anything, you can actually pin it straight to the top. There's like a little pin. Looks like, we'll show it real quick.
Do you see my screen?
Yep. Here we go.
So right here, you can pin up to three announcements at any given time. So if these three are pinned and I don't want it pinned anymore, I can just click it and it'll unpin it and take it away. Usually how I pin is I'll go through your home feed. You can pick the one you want to pin. So I'll do my student of the week. And it shows up over here. I didn't put a title on it, so that's why it doesn't say the title of it. But yeah, here are the three links. This little button the red one, to pin and unpin.
And Lisbeth, I know you asked, do they have to download Zoom? It's a client, so it's really easy for them to download. And they also there's an app for it. So if they're using a phone, it's much easier to use the app. They can also call in. So if they don't want to download anything and they just want to use it as a phone line, they can use it as a phone line. I mean, you're not going to see their face, but you'll get to hear them. Kathy, awesome. You pinned your scheduling conference signups. That's the way to do it. Like once you get your schedule mapped out and you have your Zoom room ready to go and you're posting assignments in ClassTag, this is going to be like old hat. You guys are just going to get in the flow of things. I mean, I think that's it, guys. Feel free. You can email us mine's sam@classtag.com, and Danielle is
Danielle@classtag.com.